on, come on, come on. The mountain range behind me is known as the Santa Catalina Mountains. This word Santa in Spanish is holy. The Indians that occupied this valley worshiped these mountains. They believed that their spirit god dwelt in this mountain range. When Brother Branham was a young boy, he wrote a poem. And in the poem, he talked about being on the Catalina line. And he talked about a mountain lion up in a canyon. Is everybody with us? You've never heard that? You've heard that? Everybody's heard that? Okay. Y'all need to help me out here. Well, I don't know. So in this poem, he said it was fulfilled when he came up here and he actually got a lion in this canyon up in here. There's many, many canyons. There's many different mountain peaks. Brother Branham on tape talks about Sabino Canyon, which is about 10 miles this way. He talks about going up on Mount Lemon. That's on the other side of this mountain range. It takes 30 miles to go to the top. It's at an elevation of around 9,600 feet above sea level. Now, the reason why we're here at this particular location is because there was many places in the Santa Catalinas where Brother Branham had experiences with God. But this particular place happened at the latter part of January in 1965. During this particular time, Brother Branham drives up, and you find this on tape. He said he went up Alvernon, and that's Alvernon right there. Alvernon, if you go all the way to the end, there is a trailhead. At the trailhead, Brother Branham, he walked. We don't know how far he walked. We know that he left that morning. We also know he came back later that morning or just a little bit afternoon. And the reason why we know this is because he goes to Welch's gas station after he left here. And he meets a young man by the name of Ronnie Evans. That's Brother Welch Evans' son. And Brother Ronnie says, Brother Branham, you were in those mountains, weren't you? My mother and I were talking about it. Oh, no. Brother Branham said, I thought I would pull his leg a little bit. He said, no, we know you were up there, Brother Branham. What happened? What happened? What happened? You know? And he was so excited. Well, what happened is while Brother Branham is up there praying somewhere in this area, and if you look, you'll see an area up there, and it looks like a finger. Well, that's why they call it Finger Rock. Now, I have flown between that finger and the bluff next to it in an airplane. And it doesn't look like it, but that finger, just the finger, is 200 feet tall. Wow. That's the size of a 20-story building. That's how big it is. It's very, very large. And trust me, there was plenty of room in an airplane to fly up through there. Now, what happened is while Brother Branham was seeking the Lord came to him, and he was given the commission to preach marriage and divorce. In 1964, Questions and Answers, Brother Branham said he had the revelation on it, but he was waiting for permission from God to preach it. So up here in this mountain is when he got the permission to go back to Jeffersonville and preach it. What was happening while Brother Branham was praying is that there was a cloud that appeared over Finger Rock. And it was kind of an oval-shaped cloud. It wasn't white, it wasn't black, it wasn't gray, it was an amber-colored cloud. And this cloud was seen by school children that were playing on the playground. And there are people in our church today that was children playing on the playground that remember seeing that cloud. Every one of us have a cell phone, and kids back in those days, of course, didn't have them, so there was no picture that we know of that was taken of this cloud formation. Now, there was another thing that was unusual about this cloud. Am I talking too fast? No. Is everything going good?
Good.
Are you understanding, Stephanie?
Yes.
This cloud just stayed there. And then it came down like this. It stopped. It came back up 3 times. So it was a very unusual formation. It also, being an amber colored, was another unusual formation, being that color. So when Ronnie and his mother had looked, he was pumping gas, and I'm going to eventually take y'all and show you this gas station for those of you that will remain. They knew that something unusual was happening up there. When Brother Branham mentions this, he talks about pulling Ronnie's leg, but he was up here. He never told anybody what happened until he got back to Jeffersonville. In February of 1965, they rented a school, Parkview Junior High School. And Brother Branham, there was a platform in the middle, and there was congregation on both sides. So they stationed Brother Branham where he could look both ways and see the congregation. It was the same place where Brother Branham preached. This day the scriptures fulfilled, marriage and divorce, and it was there that Brother Branham, as a young man, went to pray for his dad, who was not saved. It was a marsh, it was a wetland area, and Brother Branham had gone out there, and he had prayed and sought the Lord. It was at that time that Brother Branham, as he was praying, he looked and he felt a presence. He looks up from praying and he looks over to his left and he sees a man suspended in the air. When he looks up to see this figure's face, it was the face of Jesus Christ. He said there was no way that I could describe the power and the majesty and the wonderful way he looked. And he was looking away from me. And as I sat there on my knees and I'm looking up at him, he turned to look at me. And he said, I passed out. So now we understand why we're here and the significance of this particular place where we are now. Are there any questions?
Yes. I want to stand behind you. You point to a finger out so I can know exactly which one.
See, it comes up the rise.
Okay.
You got a bluff on this side and one up at the top, and right in the middle,
Okay.
there's a finger like this.
Right. I thought that's what it was.
Yes,
but
sir.
I wanted you to
Yes, sir.
clarify.
Any other questions?
No. Brother Allen, are you going to post yours on YouTube? When he was explaining about the amber light, I didn't have my video on.
The very fact that it was amber.
It was amber colored.
I don't remember hearing that it was amber. I do remember hearing about Brother Evan, the boy, saying, we knew it was you, Brother Branham, because the cloud was going up and coming back down.
You just don't see amber clouds.
No.
No,
That's a pillar of fire, Gerald. Amber,
yeah, if it's sunset, you might see one that's kind of orangish, but...
only if the sun's on.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was when he was commissioned to preach marriage and divorce either. Wow.
I just always had it in my head it was...
He had waited for years and years.
Right.
I just always thought it was over by Sabino.
Okay, I have many more things to talk about when we get to the house.
Okay.
If there's no more questions.